Here we go. Hello, this is Sheryl and Claire. Welcome to NeuroTRYvergent, an experiment in living and working without the mask. It's a podcast where we discuss navigating career change and just existing in the world as a neurodivergent human. Each week, we pick a topic and talk about the initial thoughts, the pros, the cons, and the balance of each concept. Then we try a 2-week experiment and discuss how it went the following episode. I'm Sheryl, an ADHD adult moving from being a professional nanny to a positive discipline trainer and parent educator slash consultant. And this is Claire. She is an ADHD adult and career life coach for neurodivergence and anyone who feels systems are not built for them. If you'd like to learn more about us, our links are in the description. Hi, Claire.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing
Uh,
all right. How are you?
happy now that I'm here today.
Good.
Yeah. Do we want to start off by checking in on experiment?
Yeah. So last week's experiment was let me see. Let me get it right. Oh, it was looking for spaces where you don't feel weird. So, do you want to start us off with that?
Sure. Yeah. I have done quite a bit of thinking about this and have
Yes.
been like actively really pursuing this for a while. So this was a super easy one for me. So I have three things that I'll
Hmm.
share. One is just like autism groups in general, groups of
Yeah.
autistic people. Um, yeah, love it. Um, love it. And then the second two are actual people-run communities, and one is called School of the Possible. And this is Dave Gray. He wrote Game Storming, and he's done a lot of other things. But
Yeah.
his community of kind of like artists and creative thinkers. And then the second one is a relatively new community, but somebody that's been working for a while called the Superhero Institute. And this is Jeff Gibbard's community, and it's just so neuroaffirming and inspiring, and it tends to have a little bit more of like a business slant to it.
Got
So
it.
that's those are my spots um, that I would say more than anything. And then I would say I would also say you could go back and listen to our friendship episode, and then you would know that Cheryl is a space. Cheryl as an entity, as a is a wonderful, wonderful, glorious human is also a space that I feel um, incredibly comfortable
Yeah.
cohabitating. Words,
Yeah.
words,
Yes.
words, heart.
Yes.
Yeah. How
Well,
about you?
I right back at you with the last one for me, because it was so nice because I came over and hung out with you, just at your place. Like we had a slumber party and like we just did our normal daily things. Like you went to work, I went to work, we did our normal things, then we'd come back and we watched um uh
Magic
D20.
20. Yeah.
Right. And
Hmm.
and I colored and you like did your thing and we all just kind of did our thing next to each other. And it was lovely.
Yeah.
It was really nice. I was like, man, you'd be a good roommate. Just
I
like
know. Not
chilling.
for everybody, but
For
for
me, it's
you.
fine.
Yeah.
I don't you, I'm like, do whatever the hell you want. I don't care.
Yep.
But um so yeah, it was that is definite. I second that. And then I also said neurodivergent specific places. Um, they tend to be a lot more forgiving. And as we get into today's topic, I think that's partially why. Um, but we'll get into that later. Um, Spaces with highly self-examined people and highly capable people really make me feel comfortable.
So
And
well
like I
said.
think also it's like not in the neurotypical way of thinking about capable either. I
Hmm.
think my definition of capable is a little different. Like it's about the intent and the care, um, and the attempt. You know what I mean? Like the wanting to take responsibility for yourself and your place in things. It makes me feel really safe. Um, and like that doesn't mean that someone has to be perfect and always like thinking about things or like has to, do all the dishes or do all this or do their chores or, be what did they say in highly I guess capable is but like that's not what
High
I mean.
functioning, high
Yeah, high
functioning.
functioning. That doesn't necessarily mean that. It just
Yeah.
means like someone who has a value of self-improvement, self reflection, and care of other people. And they do that to the best of their ability, whatever that is. So that's something that's really important. And then I also really feel comfortable in places like when we were going um like I'm really excited for the No Kings march later, and it just makes me feel like a sane human being,
Hmm.
And it's just like I feel like the news, the world wants you to feel like crazy. It
Hmm.
wants you to feel out of touch and like you're the weird one for wanting to be like, I don't know, compassionate and forward thinking. And I feel this way in the middle of Seattle
Hmm.
sometimes,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
wild. But like, because you'd think of it as a very like progressive place. Um, but then I go and I'm marching with thousands of people
Yeah.
who are all like, this sucks. No,
Yeah.
we're not going to do this. Like, this isn't
Yeah.
okay. And it just like recalibrates my brain into being like, no, what they say is a lie. They want you to believe you're alone, that
Yep.
nobody else wants this, that nobody else cares, that everybody else is functioning just fine in this society. Like, don't worry about it. And it's like, So those places where there's a lot of like rebellion are very comfortable for me.
Hmm.
Um, and just to be like, oh, this is so relieving. So that kind of thing. So those are the places that I notice that I'm like, and artistic places as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Places where people can just go be creative. Like the improv class that we
Yeah.
went to was a very comfortable place for me. And it's like tiring mentally, but it's also very comfortable. Uh,
Sure. Can be both. Yeah.
yeah,
Not
two
always.
things
Yeah.
can be true at once. So,
Well, excellent. Well, you kind of were alluding to this, but you're talking about like cultural pressures, right? And definitions of normal and all this. And this is very appropriate for our topic today. So our topic today is an article, and it will be linked below. And I'm going to give
mhm.
you a little bit of background on it before we dive in, called Throw Away the Master's Tools by Dr. Nick Walker. And this is available for free on their website. And it's interesting because it really, in listening to Nick explain how this article came about, um, in the early 1990s was when the like autism rights movements were starting to form and started to call out like the oppression that was brought on by what we're going to talk about as the pathology paradigm. Um, and and then kind of, around that time, we're getting like the emergence of the term neurodiversity and just the ideas of in the context of biodiversity that we'll be talking about later and the natural state of things. And then it wasn't until 2010, though, that actually Dr. Walker coined the term neurodiversity paradigm.
Mhm.
And so we have this pathology way of looking at the world, and we have this neurodiversity way of looking at the world. And then in 2011, they were invited to write an essay in a book that was a collection of autistic activists, right? And that's where Throw Away the Master's Tools came from. Um, and so you think, wow, that's pretty old. Like in our modern world, for something to be from 2011
Yeah.
is old. It was updated in 2013, and then it was looked at again in 2022, as Nick included it in the book Neuroqueer Heresies, which is a collection of writings and kind of expands on that. So that's kind of the, I don't know, little bit of background about this particular article. And actually the full title is Throw Away the Master's Tools, Liberating Ourselves from the Pathology Paradigm. So I am super obsessed with this book and its role in our neuroTRYvergent lens, right? Is
Yeah.
just living and existing in the world as somebody who is in a neuro minority.
Yeah.
So I asked Sheryl if she would be willing to read this and have it a topic, and she said yes. So
Yay!
yeah. So do you kind of want to start with your initial thoughts, your pros, push, pull
Yeah,
on this article?
totally. Yeah, I know. I absolutely love this article. And I love that it's built off of, and in the article they reference the building blocks that led to this movement, right? Like that led to the um neurodiversity mindset or paradigm. Um, and I think there's just so much good in this article. Um, moving away from the pathology, and like I really love the idea of um, it's not it's not us if I mean any kind of what normal people label disability, right? It's not us that's disabled, it's a society that's disabled. And it's taking, and like, this has also been something that's brewing in my mind with some other things that have come up. And just, I think the awareness and, I'm probably late to this party because of the work of a lot of people who have done a lot of research and a lot of sharing of their experience. But that it's the society that needs to change, not us. Like I am neurodiverse and like I don't work in this society because it doesn't have accommodations for me because it wasn't built for me, right? It was built for the curve here. And anybody else out there needs to try and squeeze themselves into that curve. And if it doesn't work for them, then, that's on the individual and that person has to figure out how to make themselves look or act or function in a normal way. So when I'm saying normal, it's always going to have quotes on it. Because the normal, like the words that we use, are really important and not because of semantics, but because it belies an internalized um, an internalized uh, schema of the externalized broken environment. Because the environment is broken because it's not malleable. It's not able to incorporate so many different people. And like this is something that Alex, my husband, and I talk about a lot, where it's like, think about all of the resources we are throwing away because we exclude in our society is built to exclude people of color, neurodivergent people, a lot of different like think about like schizophrenia,
Hmm.
all of that. People with, you know, learning differences, people who just don't operate within this extremely narrow um, band in a bell curve in 80 billion different bell curves, right? Like so there are some bell curves here and you need the perfect slice of nothing wrong with you to be able to have this society work for you. Or you need to be disordered in such a way that you can easily manipulate the society to work for you. Because I can tell you right now, the people who are at the top are not people who are healthy, well people. And if we had a healthy, well society, then maybe that would be the case in terms of having people where it's like, you know, people in poverty. Like, think about how many people live in poverty right now, and how many of those people could be Einstein, Martin Luther King Jr., could be this person, could be that person, could be any of these things. And it's not saying that people in poverty can't do that because they do, but a much fewer percentage of those people do because of the gatekeeping that goes on outside. There's a gatekeeping outside of our society. It's just to be able to function in the society. There are barriers up um, because the society has determined what normal means, and that's a moving target. Um, and if you deviate outside of that, you're gone. And so I just really love all of that. And the pros are that it makes me feel less freaking crazy that like, you know, you see, and I've seen this from a very young age because I never really fit in. So I was like, fine, whatever, I don't care. You know, like whatever. I don't need to fit in with you. I don't need to fit. I'll fit in my own spaces. Um, but like, yeah, yeah. It's just for me, the pros are I feel a hell of a lot less crazy. There are actionable items that you can do, like throwing away certain language paradigms, and certain ways of thinking, and finding the insidious bits of societally introduced thinking and just chucking them, noticing where they are and understanding that they're there for a reason, and that's okay. And then revamping, working around them, and doing all of those things. So it's like throw out the masters, stop building things that aren't for you, that you can't use. So I thought that was really, really good. Cons are it can be overwhelming, thinking about, you see it once it's a paradigm shift. So once you see it, you can't not see it. And so you start seeing it everywhere. And then my brain, the way my brain works, is like, well, we have to get rid of all of this now. It all has to be done right now, today. I'm gonna go live on a farm out in the middle of nowhere and not contribute to society and, you know, X, Y, and Z, because that's how my brain works. But, so that's the cons, is that it can be like, all right, well, let's get started then. And and that's wonderful. It's great. I love my enthusiasm. We're great. It just let's translate that into a realistic bit of action forward. Um, Because you still do work in the system and you still have to work in the system to exist right now.
Yeah. Oh, I
So,
wrote down so many things that we'll
yeah.
touch on later. I haven't lit a candle in a really long time, so I think
Let's
I'm
do
gonna light a
it.
candle. And I'm gonna light Ozzy.
Yay.
Because, not so much at the time of his death here recently, but back in the day, Ozzy was seen as this like evil, crazy, I don't know, whatever, man.
Satanic panic.
Satanic panic, fear.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm bringing some Prince of Darkness energy into
Yes.
this today because I feel very strongly about this topic and I'm
Mhm.
probably going to go off. So there you go.
Yeah.
Um,
Go
and I
off,
can't wait to
girl.
kind of talk to you about so many things of what you said. I'm like really vibing off of and then have some questions for you too, which is cool.
Yeah.
So I think that, and we'll get around to this too, right? Is that this article is written largely from the viewpoint of an autistic person. Um, and it references other minority groups quite a bit. It references race and it references gender and sexuality. And I think there's a little tiny ADHD reference, but that might have been in the surrounding article. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Um, so, I mean, obviously, that's my wheelhouse. That's like special interest supreme.
Yeah.
But on top of that, it's talking about paradigm shift, which is systems, and so
Mhm.
in systems thinking. So it's like hitting a lot for me. Um, so I just want to think a little bit and just like talk about like a paradigm is this frame of reference that operates off of fundamental assumptions,
Mhm.
right? That we that there's these assumptions that we're making about how the world is, and that shapes our view of reality, right?
Mhm.
So I think that's really important to just sit with that for a second, is like how intense, and I agree with the word mindset too. Like it's a different version of that, but like, just kind of sitting with the enormity of the shift that this article is calling for. So really, like in order to change a paradigm, if you are able to change a paradigm, it really has this incredibly broad effect. It changes the questions we're asking, it changes the words we're using, it recalibrates reality, right? And so it's really, really powerful. And so, um, the pathology paradigm, which I definitely experience, it's still very much alive and well, even though this article was originally written in 2011. Um, has some fundamental assumptions that are shared. One, that there is one right way for a human brain to be configured, or one right way for a human brain to function. And then two, if you are different than that, there is something wrong with you.
Mhm.
So look at the name autism spectrum disorder,
Yeah.
right? Is there a word disorder? Is there something about dysfunction? Read the DSM, and see how different brain types are described. This is like full on pathology paradigm. Do we see autism as a global health crisis? Are we alarmed at the number of people that are getting diagnosed with ADHD and autism? Um, are we hearing about parents that are trying to send their kids to programs to retrain their brain to be different, right? All of this is like signals of a pathology paradigm, right? Is the goal that, oh, you just need to try harder to conform to holistic or neurotypical norms,
Yeah.
right? It's so, and then shifting that to, okay, well, what then is a neurodiversity paradigm? So one, just like the color of our skin, just like our hair, just like our eye color, just like other how our kidneys function. I could pick a random things, right? Diversity is the normal. That's what's normal, is for there to be many different expressions of a
Mhm.
given trait, right? And so that's primary thing. Diversity is normal. There is no right and wrong. There's no right or wrong. And the example in the article talks about, at the time that it was written at least, the Han Chinese were the most populous ethnic group in the world. So they're saying, well, what if somebody told you, well, you're not normal because you're not Han Chinese, And that's just one example. Like, how would, how would, how would an average American who's not a Han Chinese react to that? Probably be like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. And then that social dynamics um, are very much similar to other minority groups when we're looking at the neurodiversity paradigm. So um, the power relations, the inequality, the like you said, the lack of you said this so well, the the tamping down of creative potential of humans,
Hmm.
right? It's I'm not saying it's the same, but if you look at how LG, LGBTQI folks are treated, if you look at how it's like that power dynamic is the same, right? So that's kind of the neuro diversity paradigm, right? And the whole thing in throw away the master's tools is the shift, have to shift.
Hmm.
Staying in the old paradigm is just, I think he said, like just adding on another room to the same house,
Hmm.
right? Like, and I do want to give like a shout out to this came from the poet Audre Lorde, who is a Black lesbian working class poet who spoke at a feminist conference in 1979 and called out a almost predominantly white audience on what the flip are you doing? You're feminists and you're going about everything you're doing is going about it using the tools of the patriarchy, and just the power of that. So blah. Um, so I think, for me and for somebody who works with neurodivergent, neurominorities, for somebody who is a neurominority, um, that this paradigm shift is essential to be able to see real change.
Hmm.
Um, and I just want to point out that I am somebody that struggles with language. Sheryl talked about this a little bit a second ago, too. I am somebody who struggles with language. I often can't find the right words, and I have to say, I'm so sorry. I'm going to say this in a messy way, and then can we get to good words together?
Yeah.
Um, I I never want to offend anyone with my language, but sometimes my brain doesn't do the right thing to find the best word. And that is true, and the extreme opposite is true as well. I can value and understand why language is important. So for a while, people put out person first language. She has autism, and that is a pathology paradigm. That means there's something wrong with me. I have this thing. She has ADHD. This is used a ton, you
Hmm.
know, versus I am an ADHD human, right? Identity first language. So I very much support and understand why that identity based language is so strong. Um, there's just so much more. I'm trying to think about what's important to say here. Um, you talked a little bit about like internalized oppression or internalized issues. Um, and I think I really like too how the thought that it's not the person that's sick, not the person that's disordered. It's the culture that we're a part of, right? That doesn't know how to deal with difference and that for whatever reason has framed difference as a problem. And I think that rings like incredibly true to me. Um, I want to go off on a double empathy problem really, really bad.
They
Decide
talk
if I
about
do it
it.
or not. Um, I do because it's one more example that
Mhm.
really rings true to me, right? So if an autistic person can't understand a neurotypical person, then autistics have empathy deficits and impaired communication. If a neurotypical person can't understand an autistic person, then autistics have empathy deficits and impaired communication. Both situations, it's blamed on the autistic person. And to me, and then the whole double empathy problem and the research that was done around that, that's widely accepted um, within informed, within groups that are informed on neurodivergent populations. Um, that doesn't make any sense. So if you put that's falling back on that idea that there's this normal group, and then if you're not in this normal group, then there's something wrong with you, right? And I think one of the things you brought up was like thinking about like a bell curve and like a misunderstanding about what majority means, right? I think that a lot of folks use the term normal when what they really mean is majority, and those aren't the same thing. And so, oh, yeah. I'm going in so many directions. I feel like my thoughts aren't really organized at this point, but I think overall, why I'm so excited about this article and reading it again and actually starting a book club on this whole book to talk to other people about it is that it it's like when you okay, let me just speak for myself. I've walked through the world for so long with things not making sense. And gravitating towards anywhere where I can find a little bit of sense. I think it's like one of the reasons like I love math, right? I love math. I love like certain types of science that are like experiment based is because I could see the logic and I could see the sense making there. And then and then there's humans, which just I've walked through most of my life with just really not societal norms not making sense. And then to read something and it just almost perfectly describes that experience. It's so validating and it's so reassuring and it just lights this fire in me. And it's sad. It's another level of sad, because the truth is that society still can't integrate people like me.
Mhm.
People they still can't integrate people like me, and the pressure is for me to pass, right? And granted, in some ways I can do that easier because I'm a white person, like I don't have to I'm not being asked to change the color of my skin to pass, which is impossible. But I am being asked to change the way I think and to change the way I communicate in order to pass. And that is staggering. And if I don't do that, then I'm always going to be treated as other, or almost always. And then the flip side of that is that they just can't, I can't remember the words, but they can't see our beauty yet.
Yeah.
They can't see the incredible light and the incredible gifts and the incredible value of diversity and of being different, right? And so I think overall, I was like, I don't have any cons for this, you know? But I think the cons are that kind of like what you said, as far as like it's intense. And I always knew that. That's not new. I know this experience is intense, but you gotta when you're I gotta you gotta sometimes looking at it is hard, I guess, or sometimes sitting in it can be hard. Um, blah. So Yeah, I left out so much, but I think that's been quite a lot and kind of all over the place. So I'd love to just kind of switch into more like dialogue-y
Yeah. Yeah.
about things. And if I could start us off by just asking you, on a personal note, um, like I said, this is really directed and framed in autism.
Yeah.
And so how does it hit you as somebody who doesn't identify as autistic?
I mean, you just change the anytime where they say autistic,
Hmm.
you could change any. I mean, this applies to most minorities,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my grandma was left-handed and they tied her hand behind her back to make her write with her right hand.
Yeah. Same with my
Like
dad. Yeah.
there were so many resources poured into a a false, constantly moving ideal and getting people to that one spot.
Hmm.
Like everybody just looked like this. And it's like if if humans and individual brains would not have evolved if that was the best way for us to live.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's part of why humanity is so wild is because in one group they weren't all just zebras in a herd. They weren't all just cows doing cow things. And
Yeah.
like there's some diversity in there, but then you add like in terms of the external diversity, right? But then you add in this complex giant brain that we have,
Hmm.
and you get to have specialization inside of a herd unit.
Hmm.
So we get to be specialists and generalists at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
There aren't many animals that can do that. And to make us all the same person, try and make us all fit as the same entity, it cuts out what makes our species unique to begin
Hmm.
with.
Hmm.
It cuts out what makes us successful in a real way.
Yeah,
Um,
it makes me think of, so my friend Sarah has a podcast called Current Fixation, and one of them is on the original hunter-gatherers,
yeah,
right? And it looks at ADHD brains in the context of like human evolution. And they talk about a lot of other things too, but they
yeah,
really tap on that and you
mhm,
know, and how what a advantage
yeah,
um a certain type of neurocognitive profile gave our
yeah,
species.
yeah,
Like eating of advantage. Like we
yeah,
could eat reliably, you know? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and and that goes for societal advantage as well, right? We look at things like memes,
Hmm.
other things that rise to the top. Well, the same things that ri are going to keep rising to the top if we don't have a diverse set of brains looking at our
Hmm.
society, looking at a problem, looking at
Yeah.
a in a working in a company, uh, being a friend group, like whatever it is, you know what I mean?
It,
It's always made better by diversity. Like
yeah.
there's not even an ability to argue against it. So it just doesn't make freaking sense to me.
Yeah. And
Long, go ahead.
it's oh no, I just adding on to what you're saying. Like it's all so logical and like within a biological, within a biodiversity lens,
Yeah.
it fits in, right? Within a systems thinking lens, like that's one of the key tenets is bring a bunch of different expertise to the table when you're solving a problem in a
Yes.
design framework, because you're going to
Yeah.
get, look for inspiration in unlikely places. You know that it there like there's there's other fields that I'm not a part of that are probably like, oh, this happens in this field and this field too. And yet, just this past year, there is a countrywide initiative to cure autism. And
Yeah.
I know that that's not necessarily a fair thing to say, right? Because I'm comparing educated, gosh, I don't even know what language to use that doesn't sound patronizing. I don't even know
Yeah.
what language to use. You know, that's educated, um, interested in science viewpoint with whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah.
Um, that was that just this year, you know, and then to be told like, oh, it was Tylenol. Your mom must have taken Tylenol at the wrong time. Like it's such a challenging place to be, like you talked about. It's such a challenging place to be where i- it's so logical and there's all this research and there's all this thought around it and there's all this lived experience and yet a large part of American culture and for my friends in the UK too that I talk to quite a bit, you know, that still like the concept that brains might be different is just so far from being a normal thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
And I just it's this idea of the nail that sticks out gets hammered down,
mm,
right? So if you're different in any way, and this is like for me, I think of moving towards fascism. Because
hmm
this is a very like believe what you want, I'm going to talk politically.
yeah,
This system
yeah.
is fascist that we have going on in the United States
Oh,
right now.
yes, yes.
And so it's all about there's one right way to do things. There's one ideal person. That's why images and looks are so important right
hmm
now with
hmm
things is that this is the way to be. This is it. This is how you want to look. This is how you want to act. This is what's important to you. This is what what is us and that's what's them. And them is bad and this is good. And it's
hmm
just it's the
It, it,
society is so obviously deeply, deeply broken. And
star-bellied sneeches. Yeah,
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 exactly.
yeah.
Right? And you're like, this is part of like a, can we like fly pamphlets over, people who are voting for these people, which is the star-bellied sneeches, but
I
like,
know. Wouldn't even get the yeah
yeah,
metaphor, but
but it's
whatever.
not, it's not the people there.
No.
It's the system that's broken.
hmm
And to deconstruct a system is very difficult, especially a system that's a very stable system. That doesn't mean it's a good system, but it's a stable system, and so knocking it out of that stability level is going to
Yeah,
take a lot of energy and a lot of
yeah,
work and a lot of and it's going to take us throwing away the master's tools.
yeah.
It's going to take us getting rid of searching out and weeding out these ideas that different is wrong
hmm
and that you know and that means looking at people in all of these different minority communities and being like, no, we're the normal ones. We're the ones the people who can look at another human being and
Uh-huh.
look at them and say, you're unique in your own specific way. There's no way that there's anyone on this planet that's normal
Yeah.
in that in the way that society defines it. That doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
Yeah.
What's normal is being part of a diverse, unique
Hmm.
community and finding places where those people can excel, finding ways
Hmm.
that get the best people for a job into that job, the people who want to do it, the people who have the brains or the ability or
Uh-huh.
the thought process or the
Hmm.
whatever. And job, I don't even mean like this is what I'm talking about with the language. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
job. It's
Yeah.
like it's just finding a place for everyone in finding a society that has a place for everyone,
For everyone. Yeah. Yeah.
and being someone who can't accept that diversity is someone who needs to be educated. It needs to have a way
Y-
of seeing
Yeah.
the actual truth of the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I just had this aha while you were talking too. Thank you. And then I want to try it out on myself in a couple of ways, right? So one of the things about the language conversation in this article that I really loved was that if you don't have a label, then
Yeah.
you're part of this normal paradigm group, we'll just call it, right? And because normal is not false, that's saying you are the privileged group here.
Yeah.
And and that should be like a giant exclamation point, like, oh shit, I better check myself right here and find what is the true label. Like the arising of the term neurotypical was huge
Yeah.
because it's like, no, it's not like normal
Yeah.
and neurodivergent, it's neurotypical and neurodivergent, right? Or allistic and autistic. Or I love the example was like, what if you said, what's the difference between saying gay people want the same rights as heterosexual people and saying gay people want the same rights as normal people?
Yeah.
Like, boom, right there, like one word difference, and I just feel it,
Yeah.
right? That second one just says it says, oh, something wrong with being gay,
Yeah.
because you use the word normal, right? And so I'm thinking about like in all contexts, like
Yeah.
asking myself that question, do I have a label
Yeah.
in that arena? And
Yeah.
if I don't, okay, I need to go there and I need to figure that shit out. Like,
Yeah.
um, and you said poverty earlier, which I just can't stop thinking about because if before we're talking about population numbers, right? And like
Mhm.
more and less,
Yeah.
right? And like, and then when we're saying normal, we're really kind of meaning more like a larger group of people.
But that's not true.
But that's not true yeah, it's
No, it means the people who have
the power
the privilege.
with people whose the system is working for or who was built for or who was
Yes.
built by. Yeah.
Yes.
And I
So
think
I would
poverty is the
say,
perfect example of that
yeah.
because it
Yeah.
blow the numbers, especially globally,
Yeah.
blow that whole thing up, right?
Yeah. Or women.
Women.
There are more
Yeah.
women in the world than there are men,
Yeah.
but we're
Yeah.
called the minority, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Yeah.
say the
Yeah.
privileged group
Yeah.
and the group that's not privileged. Because instead of normal and abnormal or minority and majority.
Yeah.
And it's just has to do with, and then you can take that paradigm, and I don't know if I have to do research about it to see because there are people way smarter and more. educated than me in this situation. But that's how I have to think about it, is
Hmm.
like, that's what it means when we say normal. That's what we mean when we say majority, is
Hmm.
people of privilege,
Hmm.
people
Hmm.
of power,
Hmm.
and it's like the privileged group in any situation can change, right?
Yeah.
If I go to China or Russia or South Africa, that group of the privileged may change.
Hmm.
If you look globally, that's a whole different thing. But I'm just saying you
Yeah.
look at these small societies, and
And I
that's
think
where you're going to
I,
have.
I think it's really important too to look like at the intersections of your identity pieces there too, because I know some folks that are like very much, these are white folks, this is in the race discussion, and they're maybe even let's just say a white male, but that has had that lives in extreme poverty
Yeah,
and then struggles with this definition of privileged too, though,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it's a yes and thing,
yeah,
in this way you are,
yeah,
and in this way you're not,
yeah,
and just like allowing for that complexity of identity, I think is really important too.
yeah,
Um, or I could say that, do that for myself too,
yeah,
like very easily. And so, yeah, yeah. And so, gosh, I think like what an interesting piece of writing
yeah,
that is very, like I said, very geared towards um one group of people, but has these like kind of ripples, right? And these
yeah,
larger implications of
yeah,
describing
yeah,
um
yeah.
yeah, what things are like. What, what do we think? Do you want to talk about the balance? Have we already kind of
I
talked about that? Like,
I
what do
would
you,
like to talk about the balance
yeah,
insofar of this is, and if you let me like just kind of go about my ideas really quickly,
please.
and get those out, insofar of, okay, we're all gassed up and ready to go to fight, you know, the patriarchy, the privileged, right? The society, not fight the privileged, but fight the society that creates a privileged view.
Hmm. Fights power.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Now, where does that energy come from?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of what I would love to do, is kind of talk about that. And like that's my balance issue.
Hmm.
And I'm happy to jump into it and go first if you want me to, and just
Yeah,
talk
either
about what
way.
I'm thinking. Yeah,
Either way.
I'll talk
What
about
feels
that
good?
right
Yeah,
now
what feels good to you? I can go either
because
way.
I'm kind of on a roll already.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, great. All right, I'm not going to participate in, in this society anymore. I've decided this. And now I'm going to do what?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, where do we even move forward? Because this is not something we can do individually. It's first and foremost, it's not something that, this is gonna take energy to examine and go through a paradigm shift. I've been
Hmm.
through many paradigm shifts in my life, and
Hmm.
it's a freaking mess. It
Hmm.
creates, it's like starting a whole new Lego project, right? Like you have to
Yeah.
break everything down and everything has to come apart, and then you just have a pile of Legos, and like then you're like, all right, what do I do now? Like, great. Well, I have to build a whole new thing. Well, A, we don't have to do it alone. But B, you don't have to reinvent the wheel of like completely new language. Like I was saying, like, okay, I'm using privileged right now, so I don't have to use the word normal, but there might be a better word for
Hmm.
that. And someone has probably figured that out. That's not me,
Hmm. Yeah.
And so like outsourcing a lot of that energy is really important, you know. because when it comes to neurodiversity, we're very new
Hmm.
in this. Like there are communities that have been fighting this fight for a long time and have systems and things already in place. And there are neurodivergent people who are already working and already have systems that can lead and get us there, right?
Hmm.
And then it's also like, how do you support yourself in all of this? Like, how can you get to a neurodivergent group, a group of ADHD, group of ADHD, a group of autistic, a group with
Hmm.
all of those people all mixed in? Because ideally, that's the goal
Hmm.
is to be like, okay, we're trying to say, like, okay, society is a puzzle. I mean, I hate using this because of the puzzle piece
Yeah.
thing with
Yeah.
autism. But
Yeah.
like, if society
From
is
a
a
group that is
puzzle,
very pathology paradigm. Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
exactly,
Yeah.
then each of us is a piece that creates a bigger whole. And the part
Yeah.
you can't, you know how freaking frustrating it is if you don't have the last puzzle piece
Yeah.
because you can't make the thing.
Cause
It's
you, cause you,
annoying.
cause you, yeah, you like didn't pay attention to it and you threw it under the rug and now it's like all beat up
Yeah,
and dirty and yep,
yeah. And
running
so
with this
now
analogy.
what we
Sorry.
have is we've been shipped a box of puzzle pieces that are all blue and the same shape,
Yeah.
and they don't make anything.
You
You
can make a
can't.
really nice tower that just falls over.
Yes, exactly, right? But like, or they make something, you can make something out of them,
Yeah,
but
I'm
it's very
joking, but yeah,
limited as to what
yeah,
you can make,
yeah.
right? But if you have the different colors and the different pictures and stuff like that, then you can start making something cohesive.
Hmm.
You can start making something really outstanding. Um, you know, um, so I don't know. That's just my thought process on it. We can't do it alone. We can't do it all at once. We have to live in this society and
Hmm.
understand where we can push and where we can't, and what that looks like for each individual of us. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it's
yeah,
it's different.
yeah.
Um, you know, so that's kind of my balance idea of it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I I was thinking about when I was still doing environmental outreach and I was working with kids, right? And we were, it was usually very like waste focused, but sometimes it was other environmental issues and the conversation that happened so many times, um, but could happen with adults just as is equally was the kind of even as a kid or as a young person, like feeling overwhelmed at the vast number of things that need to be done um, to be more caring of this beautiful planet that we live on. And we would also talk about, and a lot of with water issues too, we would also talk about like that can be a recipe for shutdown, right? Like seeing the whole can be a recipe for shutdown. It can be a recipe for overwhelm. And so what if, so I was like, what if you picked like literally one thing and you're
Yeah,
like, I'm going to become really good at doing this one thing,
yeah,
which is like, I'm going to take a shorter shower, or it could be super simple. Like what's accessible? Like that was like a lot of the thing. It's like, let's just figure out, and it might be different for every single kid in a class. What's accessible to you in your world? What is it going to be not to waste food, to only take smaller portions and then go back for seconds, whatever it is, right? Like
yeah,
what's accessible given your life and do that one thing.
yeah.
And then leave space for, hey, you know what? It could get to the point where that's just part of your being and it's no
Hmm.
longer your one thing. And then you add another thing,
Yeah,
until it's comfortable. And so I was just like very much sitting here and realizing how same this is. Same, but different, right? Like how similar this is. And I've had conversations. I mentioned the Superhero Institute before. I've had conversations with Jeff about like, what if I'm like, like I have health issues and I'm feeling just horrible because I can't go out and be part of these gatherings of people. And it feels just awful. And he was like, well, is that the only thing you could do? Like good coaches like asking me questions and like and so I'm just like really sitting with that ideal right now. And I think that's one thing like this theme of what's the what's the key message here
Hmm.
and and what do I do with that? So it's like, okay, if the key message is don't close my eyes to the pathology paradigm and the equivalents out there, because there are many. That will very quickly make me want to go crawl under, like seriously shut down. So it's like, okay, what is accessible to me, right? Like starting there because and what is accessible to me is what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Because I have an interest-based nervous system, if I can tie my actions to my special interests, which my special interest is the brain and how our brains are, then I have extra fuel to do that thing,
Yeah.
right? I have extra fuel to do that thing because that's how I'm wired. That's how I'm wired. And so if I put the majority of my energy into, let's just say, moving from a pathology paradigm to a neurodiversity paradigm, that paradigm shift work can grow and can grow to other oppressed individuals and groups too. Because of what we've just talked about. This is hard to explain. I hope it's making a tiny bit of sense
Mhm.
because it's the same model,
Yeah.
in many different contexts, And so I think for me, that's where the balance is
Hmm.
for right now, what's my one thing? What's
Hmm.
my taking a shorter shower equivalent that I
Yeah.
can do and I can do reliably that I'm not doing I'm not doing it an inch deep and a mile wide. I'm going deep because that's really important to me too.
Hmm.
Like, what can I go deep into, go all in on? And so for me, what I really love doing more than anything is like working with people and helping them build their own understanding of who they are as a person. And then inevitably, every time I have this like honest, authentic moment where I'm like, oh my God, you are amazing.
Yeah.
You have the most beautiful brain. And I'm so impressed by this, this, and this. And I'm just like, I'm inspired by this person. And I say that. And these people, every time, it's like they've never freaking heard that before, And I'm just like, oh my God, like uh, whatever. How could they not hear? It's
Yeah.
just like being open to seeing the beauty and the gifts in other people and helping like other individuals work out of their own muck and like find that beauty in themselves. Like I think that's my place in this um conversation and in this fight the power,
Yeah.
fighting the power.
Yeah.
Um yeah, it
Yeah.
blows my mind. So
Yeah. I think that's really, really wise of like, what am I, and like, this is again kind of talking about the same thing with me and like my clients. I'm like, okay,
mhm.
well, what's the least you can do? Right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we want to be smart about our energy. And
In a
like,
good way. Yeah.
yeah. And like, something that always helps
What
me is that, what doesn't help people of color, you know, other neurodiverse people, other LGBTQ people, other people who, are, not as privileged, a burnt out white woman.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
There's
I
enough of
just
that.
don't,
Yeah.
that's not helping me. It's not helping anyone.
No.
And so it's like all of this has to be iterative.
Hmm.
All of
Hmm.
this has to be because and I love what you said, because once you get good at doing it one way, it's
Hmm.
so much easier because you've built
Yeah.
up the tools,
Yeah.
right? Like a lot of the times it's just about practicing one small thing,
Hmm.
and then you can go a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger. And it makes it easier because, like, once you've practiced those tools,
Yeah.
you don't have to spend so much energy learning how to use those tools anymore.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
it's easier to then take that toolkit that you have
And apply it somewhere
and
else.
apply it somewhere else.
Yeah. And like I have to do things like I cannot watch the news.
Yeah.
And I have to curate my environment to a really high level. And I can only go out so many times and I can't, you know, to manage that.
Yeah.
Um, so that I can do the things that I can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that could be anything, right? Like, I don't know, it can look a million different ways. And us feeling, or I should bring it to me, and me feeling that I am not doing enough is supporting the old paradigm.
Yeah. Yeah. It is that using the master's tools, right?
That
It's
is the
re it's
master's
re it's
tools.
freaking forcing that there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's exactly that.
It's
Sorry.
exactly using the
There's
master's
something wrong with
tool.
me, not you, or whatever,
Yeah, no, no,
Yes.
I know. No, I
Yes.
get it. I get it. I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I need to learn how to throw out those tools, right? So like
Wow. New levels
using,
unlocked. Thank you, Cheryl.
you're welcome, right?
Yeah.
But saying
Yeah.
I'm not doing enough,
Mhm.
that's the old master's tool. That's saying
Yes.
I'm not at the appropriate place on the bell
Yes.
curve
Yes.
for this one active. I'm not activist enough.
Hmm. Hmm.
So there's like first place activism,
Yeah.
second place, third place. Where am I in the ranking? Oh, a ranking
Yeah.
system?
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a master's tool,
Yeah. It is.
right? And
Yeah.
and it's like, and it's a whole suite of master's tools that you're using when you say I'm not doing enough.
And it ties right back into where we started this whole thing with perfectionism too, right?
Yeah.
Perfectionism is a master's tool as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because it keeps us down.
I think maybe one of the things that we can do is just notice a master's tool
Okay, so that's our experiment. So no, like that's in your.
that's in your toolkit that you go to,
Okay.
Doesn't have to, we don't have to do anything about it
Hmm.
because noticing is just fine. Um, but yeah, just notice a master's tool.
Okay.
Just one. Don't have to do anything about it. There's no such thing as enough, so it's fine.
My head, I all of a sudden my head, because I like to wear headphones because anyway, that's not important why. The important part is that I can hear my heart beating. Now I look too excited. I can just boom, 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 boom in my
Yes.
head. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And take good care of yourself while you do it.
Yeah. Because the world doesn't need another burnt out white woman. Yeah.
The world doesn't
I,
need another burnt out, privileged,
what? Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like that's not how we need to live. Like, we don't need that.
Yeah. And if
Not
you
helping
have like
anyone.
if you have an achievement bent or a vibe or a whatever, I think the next level of that, and again, I 100% agree that there's nothing else needed other than that, the basics, right? Because the idea is like what's accessible. But I just want to point out that if it's just one thing, then that gives you one thing to experiment with.
Yeah.
And I would say that like it might take a while. Like that's why being kind to yourself is like really, you've talked about this. Like it might take a while to shift that tool because you're just going to keep pulling out the hammer. right? Because that's what you use. You use the hammer, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to take a while to remember, oh, wait, I need to pull out this really cool sonic screwdriver instead, you know, or whatever
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I just need to stop picking up the hammer and let things be
hmm
and
Yeah,
see
that might
what
be
comes out
enough.
naturally.
Or take it out of the, like I said, like try to take it out of the toolbox, right? And
Hmm.
set it somewhere else. Yeah.
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 It just realize that you have the hammer in your hand in the first place
Yeah.
and that it is a hammer
And that
and
yeah.
and that there's a toolbox. And that,
And
you
for
know,
any of my friends out there that are Dr. Horrible fans, you can insert, I'm not going to say it right now, but there's that line about the hammer, what the hammer is.
yeah.
So I'm not going to say it, even though I want to say it, but hopefully some people are giggling, a few of you.
Yes.
Ah, all right. All right. I feel like I'm going to go back and watch this episode and have no idea what I said. I mean, I get I know the feeling and I know,
Yes.
yeah, but I felt like it was like almost like kind of out of body experience. So,
Yeah.
thank you for
Welcome.
this conversation.
Thank you.
And
And thank you guys for listening to us talk
yeah, yeah.
to
And as always, like comments are welcome.
mhm.
We will engage with comments. If that feels too public, you can reach out in a more private channel, which we're about to tell you how to do that.
Yeah.
Um, if this is something that you have a feeling about, or if you want to push back or ask questions, or you're not sure how to proceed, yeah, please let us know.
Yeah.
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 All right. So, Cheryl,
Mm-hmm.
how should they find you?
SherylTheNanny.com.
All right. Nice. And mine's the link tree / Wizards Way.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Take care.
right. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.